One of my favorite things right now in talking about preaching and teaching is the use of technology. I absolutely love using both social media and hardwired technology, trying to figure out how to include images, both moving and still, in worship, trying to make sure that we're utilizing broadband strength and using tweets and texting and Facebook and Instagram and all this kind of stuff in worship and preaching. And it really excites me to be able to use social media, to use the technology that's at our fingertips to try to spread the gospel. I see it as a part of my ministry. I'm on just about every platform that you could possibly be on. I'm on, seriously, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, text on a regular basis, I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest, but I don't really like Pinterest that much. But, I have a Tumblr account, I have a blogger. There's not really anything out there that I'm not on. And I see it as a part of my ministry. I see it as a part of who I am as a pastor and as a preacher and as a teacher. I want to engage people to think about the issues of the day. I want them to engage their faith in concrete ways online, to talk about who they are as Christians, and I want to challenge some of the preconceptions that are out there. We've just come through a very difficult terrorist attack in Paris. And social media was one of the ways that folks reached out to each other and let people know that they cared about each other, that they were thinking about those folks who had been injured and killed. But during the same week, there was also an attack in Baghdad, there was an attack in Beirut, and they didn't get the same kind of media play. And so watching sort of streams of awareness on social media can sometimes be very invigorating and exciting, but it can also feel like we isolate and don't really see each other very well. We see this after the Ferguson and Baltimore riots, and we've seen this with Black Lives Matter, with a lot of different social media campaigns that were lifting up awareness about what was going on in the world. But it's still, even though it's a great asset, there are ways that we use social media to sort of diminish and lessen each other. One of the negatives, that happens almost after every attack, every act of violence around Black Lives Matter, violence, police violence or other violence that occurs, there's a blame game that happens. And so one of the things that happened this weekend after this really rich and deep outpouring of sympathy for the folks who had experienced these disasters, these terrorist attacks, there was a sort of a lumping of all Muslims together, or a lumping of all extremists together. And I become sad by those kind of uses of social media, where I see it as a tool of reaching out and sharing the gospel and sharing who we are and connecting with each other. It can be used in some really devastating ways. And I think as a professor, one of the things that I want my students to understand is that the tools that we have at our disposal are tools that we need to use to their best effect. Right? We need to use them to the best ability that we can. And I think that social media and technology is a way that we expand our audience. It's a way that we expand our conversation partners. One of the things that I encourage my students to do is to have crowdsourced sermons, to go on their Facebook and Twitter feeds and ask people about a particular text that they're going to be addressing in church, or to talk about a sermon series that's coming up. In class this last week, we made sermon trailers. In one of my classes, they videotaped like 30 to 40 second trailers of what was coming up in a upcoming sermon or an upcoming sermon series, and they posted them to their social media feeds so that folks in their congregation could say, oh wait, that's our pastor talking about what's coming up in their worship service. So even though there's some negative things that happen in social media and technology, I think that if we use them to further the gospel, then that's another tool that's in our toolbox to help us deliver a gospel message, to spread the message of grace and hope. And in this time, I think that's needed very desperately. So I see it as a ministry of presence, a presence on social media, a presence through technology that reaches out and lets people know that I care and that I'm thinking about them. When folks ask, what in the heck do I preach this week after Paris? Then there are professors out there, there are folks who are tweeting what to preach. and helping folks understand that. There was a immediate outreach from On Scripture, which is a social media and text-based commentary series to get folks to comment and think about how do we put our faith together right at this moment. And I wrote Saturday morning and posted that online as soon as I possibly could to help folks come to grips with the way that their theology and their faith and the church can react to these kind of situations. So that's going to bleed into and be a part of our theological education. How do we utilize all the technology that's out there to deliver education in the best ways possible, to engage our students in as many platforms as we possibly can, and to engage the world in, I think, vibrant and energizing and exciting ways. And social media and technology is one of the things that really excites me and makes me happy that we can engage people in as many ways as we possibly can.